Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I've got a bit of a different video for you guys, alright? You know I love my discussion videos, that's what I, love doing. I love talking about the game, and a lot of the times I talk about what could be improved for the game from my perspective, and, the franchise overall, and what I want to change for the future. But today, I want to focus more on what Massive got right with Division 2, and what I think should be carried forward into the future, into Division 3, which, like I've said before, I'm quite certain is happening at this point, but I digress. That's what I want to cover today, is what I think they got right with Division 2, and what lessons could be took from that and brought into the future, or mechanics, or whatever. So, I'll say now that just because I put something on this list doesn't necessarily mean I think it's perfect, or that it couldn't be improved upon, but I just think overall they did a good job with it, and of course, this is all just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of you guys will disagree with some of the things on here, or think other things should be added, and that's fine. Let me know down in the comments what you think those things are. So, to start it off, I've got 6 main points that I want to hit on for this list, and starting with, in no particular order here, the gunplay and the gameplay. Overall, the guns feel pretty good in Division 2, I feel like, and the gameplay does too. Running around through the open world, traversing over your environment feels good. The introductions of different movement mechanics like the hood slide feature, which isn't super utilized, but I think overall it's pretty nice to have, and overall just the feel of running around and doing all that kind of stuff feels really good. Especially, and I know I've noted this before in videos, the different variations in animations is really appreciated in my opinion. Different ways you can hop over different types of obstacles and climb up things. Compared to Division 1, it always felt a little bit static to me, a little, concrete, like you couldn't really flow very well through the environment at all times. But in Division 2, I feel like it really works really well that way. The cover system and how you move cover to cover is great. I'm not saying that the movement is 100% great for PvP, because I don't think it is, and I think Division 1 overall was better movement-wise for PvP, but overall, the variations in animations and all that kind of stuff, like I was just mentioning, I think is really good in Division 2, and I think that kind of improvements and that philosophy should be carried forward into Division 3 to bring even more variety to gameplay and movement and all that kind of stuff. Going back to the guns, while I do wish there was some more recoil on guns, I know I said that before in videos, because I think that makes stability and accuracy mods a bit more worthwhile, and while I think it brings some more, realism and skill to the game as far as PvP is concerned at least, I do think overall the guns handle very well. I think a lot of them feel good and sound good and all that kind of stuff. Guns are a lot more viable in Division 2 than 1. I mean, a wider variety of them are, and so that's also appreciated. I don't know if I necessarily fit that into the same category, but overall, the gunplay and gameplay of Division 2 is something I think was overall a net positive, and so if they can carry that forward into the future, I think that would be great. Moving on to the second item on my list, we have player agency and customization. Overall, the amount of things you can do to make your character feel individual and unique in Division 2 is great, in my opinion. There's a fine line here. I don't necessarily think that the apparel in Division 2 is better than Division 1, because I think Division 1 had a lot more military and, the term tactical stuff. I think it definitely won on that front. But the different variety of clothes you can wear in Division 2, from you have the sleeveless shirts, to you have like full, military jackets and different like hazmat suits. There's definitely more variety in what you can wear in Division 2, and that definitely allows you to set yourself apart from other players depending on what they're wearing. Additionally, you have more customization options, like you have way more patches. I mean, we got that from the start. We didn't get until, what was that, 1.7 in Div 1, along with masks. Both masks and patches were there from day 1 in Div 2. Backpack trophies are another nice way to do it. Transmog, which came with this most recent update to 11, is an awesome feature. I really love it, and I hope that if there is a Division 3 or some, division in the future, I 100% hope they carry that forward at launch, because I think Transmog is a really great feature. Just myself, I really love it, because I'm big into how my character looks in third person. In first person games, I don't really care as much because you can't see yourself anyway, but in a game where you're constantly looking at the back of your character, you want to look pretty cool, at least I do. So it's a very appreciated feature in my mind. Now, one area they definitely dropped the ball compared to Div 1, in my opinion, is skins on guns. Now, if you'll go investigate it, it's actually pretty funny. They've done this, I think, ever since Warlords came out. You can go in the shop, and there's actually, I don't think a lot of people know about this, there's a certain category for weapon skins, and they have some ones that are unique for different guns. Like they just added one for the MPX and the AA-12, the Showstopper, and they have ones for, the Magnum. There's ones for specific guns that you can buy with real money, and they actually look awesome. Like the one that they just added for the AA-12 is really cool. And so some of that stuff is really awesome, but overall, like the base skins that you unlock and you can put on your gun suck. Most of the time I don't even run even a solid camo on my gun, which is weird, because in Div 1 that's always what I did. So I don't necessarily know what changed between 1 and 2 for their, philosophy for developing gun skins, but they kind of suck. So overall, I think the player agency and customization is really great. There are certain elements that could be improved and, maybe taken some inspiration from Division 1 to carry forward. But overall, that category is something they did really well on, and I hope they continue to improve on for the future. Not to mention, I should say this before we move on, that the character creator at the initial startup screen compared to Div 1 is miles better. You can change your hair color, you can change all that different kind of stuff much more than you could in Division 1. And so if they even go further with that for Div 3 or, whatever in the future, that would be really awesome. But yeah, overall player agency and customization were done quite well in the sequel. Moving on, third item on my list is the story, and I want to put a huge asterisk here. This is after the main campaign, because if you're just taking the main campaigns, the 1 to 30 experience from Division 1 and Division 2, what is the story of Division 2's campaign? I could not tell you. In Div 1, I can tell you exactly what it was. You go back to the base of operations in Manhattan, and your job is to restore it. You first go out and you collect you save the 3 hostages from the different factions. You save Benitez and Candle and Paul Rhodes, and you help them to set up your base of operations. And from there, you go out and start taking out the leaders of the different factions. And that culminates at General Assembly, where you defeat Bliss, who is like the main guy working with the rogue agents, and Keener gets away. I can tell you that from memory easily. That's exactly what happened. Div 2, I literally don't know what happened. You go and you restore the Shade Network for something, and you take out some of the faction leaders, and that's kind of it. There's no interesting characters. It just kind of sucks. However, after the main campaign, and once the DLC started to come out, the different episodes, and with Warlords and the season stories, it's actually pretty coherent, and it's pretty cool in my opinion. Starts off at Camp White Oak. We lose President Ellis. He gets away with the Black Tusk. And then we carry that forward. Then the Black Tusk are trying to acquire the bioreactor in the Pentagon to weaponize the green poison in the form of the Eclipse virus, as we see in Warlords. We rescue Chernenko to hopefully work on a cure, which hasn't really been touched on yet since then. However, then we go to Coney Island. We see Keener starting his plot. And then in Warlords, we deal directly with Keener and his rogue agents there. We go to New York again, really cool. And then the season since then have really picked up on kind of the rogue agent storyline and how Fei Lao is going to tie into that with Season 4, as was revealed at the Ubisoft Forward event. It's going to be Fei Lao for Season 4. So overall, the story ever since, TU5 and Camp Whiteout came out has been pretty cool and pretty coherent, and in my opinion is something that I'm, invested into, and I want to know what happens next. And so if they can carry that forward into a potential Division 3 for the main campaign, then that would be really awesome, because like I said, Division 2's main campaign sucked compared to Div 1, but what Div 1 dropped the ball on was it never expanded upon the story after that initial campaign. They'd had the audio logs of Keener in TU in 1.8, but that was a year and a half after launch, and that wasn't even a mission, that was just some audio log. So overall, Division 1 and Division 2 handled it different ways. Overall, I think Div 2 has a more interesting story now that we're, a year and a half in. And so if they can continue that into the future, then I think it could really be good. And the story overall, again, after the main campaign, was done quite well, in my opinion, in Division 2. Moving on to the fourth thing on my list is enemy design. Most specifically, like the reductions to the bullet sponge issue, which I've never had much of an issue with it, but I know a lot of people did, and so that was done very well via the armor system, and we'll touch on that. And also, in general, like weak points on all the different types of ads feel much more rewarding, and they fit really well into the combat loop, in my opinion. So, the armor system on heavies, I think, is fantastic. It was a great way to reduce the bullet sponge issue from Division 1, and it feels so much more dynamic and fun to engage with, in my opinion. You can tell your team, all right, let's target this heavy's helmet, and we'll take him down really quick. And then if you can all target it and take it down, you can kill him faster than you could kill a heavy in Div 1 at sometimes. And so that, in my opinion, is really great. And additionally, like I was mentioning, the different weak points on not just heavies, but on regular ads and all that type of stuff feel really cool and rewarding to, target and hit. And it fits very well into the combat loop. Most specifically, I want to point out the, the Rikers Heavy, now that they've introduced Rikers back with Warlords. Those are some of the coolest ads to fight, in my opinion, because they're very difficult to fight. Like that nail gun will bleed you really hard, and it hurts if it hits you, but you have so many different ways you can take them on. You can try and hit the packs on the back through his visor, and those will stagger him, and you can then hit some of his weak points. You can hit the blinders on the shield to blind him, so you can get behind him. Like, there's so many different ways you can engage with him, and I think the way that they've handled enemy design in Div 2 overall has been really great, so that's another good point that they did well for Division 2. Alright, fifth on my list is the open world. I think the open world design in Div 2 is pretty fantastic, especially through control points. Like Division 1, had its open world basically had nothing to do. Like the main content was in the Dark Zone and missions. At least at launch, that's how it was. But the open world in Div 2, with how dynamic it is, with how many different patrols and resource convoys and everything can be going and interconnected, it's really cool. And so I think if they can take that to the next level in Div 3 with like maybe you can see, like I was saying in my Div 3 video, if you could see different players in the open world, engage with some of that content at a harder difficulty, it could be really awesome. But overall, the open world design is really fantastic. And just I kind of miss in year one how you could dynamically level up control points by doing some of those sub activities. I hope if they continue the control point content into Div 3, that they could possibly either reintroduce that or just bring some fashion of it other than just like you change your world difficulty and it just buffs up the control point. I feel like that's, I don't want to say lazy, but it was more fun, in my opinion, to go and level it up by doing these smaller activities, because then you feel like you're building towards something. If they could bring that back, that'd be very cool. But overall, like I said, the open world design with the different variety of activities you can partake in and all the different events and all that kind of stuff is just really awesome. So another very high point for the Division 2. And last but certainly not least on my list of things the Division 2 got right, we have the raids. Now, I know that a lot of people dislike the raids simply because they don't partake in them, and I'm not going to get into that. But for the people who do partake in the raids, I think a lot of us can agree that they're really fantastic, especially considering that this is the first time that, I know Massive didn't really do it. It was, I don't even know, whatever that studio is over in France. I think they mainly did the raids. But considering it was the first time that raids were being introduced in this game, in this franchise, they were really well done, in my opinion. Dark Hours, when it didn't have Iron Horse to compete with, was pretty good on its own, but especially since they introduced Iron Horse in TU10, that raid just built upon the foundations that were good in Dark Hours and took it to the next level. Like, Iron Horse is a very good raid, in my opinion. The encounters are super fleshed out, and there's some really good secrets in the environments and the whole traversal through the raid. The art design is great. Overall, it's just a very nice culminating experience that feels like something that's really challenging and fun to take on, and combined with the facts that all the bosses are very intricate in their mechanics, it just feels like that Destiny raid experience that everyone wanted to be. And so I think overall raids were very well done and a great addition to the franchise. Now, the question is, are they worthwhile carrying to Div 3 when so many people don't partake in them? I hope they are. I hope they could have some sort of scenario where there's both incursions and raids in Div 3, so that you have those different things that pertain to different types of people and different content. We'll see what happens, but overall, if they don't carry forward, I think we can remember raids as a very high point for the franchise, hopefully, in the PvE world, because I know certainly I've enjoyed them quite a bit. Alright guys, and I think that about does it for my list of what the Division 2 got right. Again, this isn't quite my, typical video of what I think should change X, Y, and Z, but I wanted to do this and, just give you guys a bit of a break from that and, share my thoughts on why I think Division 2 did well. Because like I pointed out here, there are things that it did well, and I think that those can be carried forward to make an even better Division 3. You'll note that pretty much anything PvP related was kept off this list, because compared to Div 1, I don't think much was done well as far as PvP is concerned. So hopefully that can be looked at, obviously, but PvE has some great foundations, at least in my view. I think, like I said, the open world and raids are very good, and also the enemy design and all of that. So if they can carry a lot of that forward, then I think PvE is already set to do very well. It's just really about the PvP, and I've made plenty of videos on that. So let me know your guys' thoughts down below on if you agree or not with my list. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Yeah, let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Have a great day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.